3. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day, David. How you doing on Mother's Day?
I'm okay, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. We
Give me a quick
celebrated.
story about Mother's Day before we move on to our current events.
Yeah, well, a little history. It was really started around the Civil War time in this country. There, by the way, there's only 40 countries out of the 200 that really celebrate this Mother's Day. So we're rather unique in that regard. But it's got a long history, historical roots that go back to the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, and the gods, mother gods that were around then. But the real Mother's Day, basically, in this country started right during the Civil and after the Civil War. And people like Anne Jarvis, and then succeeded by her daughter, were instrumental in making it a national holiday of acceptance. And Governor Wilson, Governor Wilson, he was governor of Pennsylvania, became president, and in 1914, he signed the proclamation for Mother's Day in the United States. And so it's got its roots from the Civil War time in the peace movement. And, that was what they really were focused in on. Women were at that time on suffragette issues, health issues, and peace. And they kind of came together and worked on getting this Mother's Day proclamation accepted and celebrated. So it's a great day. I love Mother's Day because of the very aspects of it. You get to celebrate life and the birth of life, but all of these other ancillary pieces that I've just mentioned that go with it, and the significance of women and mothers in our society.
That's a fascinating history. I had a very public service oriented mother who was a city council member, first League of Women Voters president, first manager.
Yeah. I know your mom. Yeah.
So she but I was thinking she died when Trump was coming up in 2015, right early. So I think I'm happy that she didn't have to witness these last 10 years.
Oh, I know there's something to be said for having not witnessing these things. But my mother, unfortunately, passed away when her mother died when she was young, of tuberculosis. And my mother died when she was 37, and I was 15. My sister was 12. My brother was 4. So we were quite young. But I have a very fond memory. And one that stays with me all the longest about my mother was we used to do the dishes together.
Oh.
After dinner. So we had the radio on. We used to listen to a station in Canada named CKLW. And he used to play, Frank Sinatra and, kind of crooner songs like that. And we used to do the dishes. I would wipe. She would wash. I would wash. She would wipe the dishes, And
every time you do dishes now, you think of her, right?
I do. Oftentimes I do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great.
And I do the dishes now.
You like to make that point, Judy. I do the dishes.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, I hope you enjoy this day. We have a beautiful day in Chicago. Going out to dinner with my mother-in-law.
Good.
Time.
That's great.
Hey, we're a public event. We've had, every 2 weeks feels like a pretty long news cycle. I think it's because this president likes to always be shouting into microphones, right? He can't live without attention. But we have, I think the biggest news story since we last talked was the Supreme Court decision 6-3, Louisiana versus Callais. And in it, they basically weakened Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. It almost really disemboweled the Voting Rights Act, right? So it's almost impossible to prove voter dilution by requiring plaintiffs to provide evidence of intentional present-day racial discrimination rather than historical context or effects. So basically, it strips.
Oh, it's a terrible decision.
Black and brown voters, right?
Exactly. And it's going back to Jim Crow days. It's a huge step backwards, and it creates a situation in which many people are going to be disenfranchised from the ability to vote if they don't have proper identification and all these things that were in place during Jim Crow, and they're coming back, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jim Clyburn was on the Sunday talk shows already this morning saying, be careful what you wish for, because this could blow back, at least in this midterm. The ramifications might be lighter because of looks like Democrats are up plus 10, right? He goes, we might win 3 seats now in South Carolina after this redistricting. What's your sense? You've been a part of, what were the big midterm wave elections that you were in Congress for? And does this feel like one of those midterm waves for you?
It was starting to feel like that, and I thought we would. I still do. I still think we're going to win the House, but it's going to be closer now because they're changing the numbers. But one thing people aren't thinking about as much in the ramifications of what they're doing is that by changing the numbers in a state, you take from the Democrats and you create a district that's works well for Republicans. But by taking those voters away from those districts, you weaken existing members who are in those districts.
Yeah.
And so they will become vulnerable as well. And there will definitely be people who are going to be caught, even though we're talking about it. Everybody's going to be talking about it in the next weeks and months. Even though we're doing that, there'll be members who won't, are out of the habit of campaigning, raising money and getting. So there'll be people caught in that. So that will all help even it up a little bit.
I remember when I was in DC, you just would always have a couple of Congress people who you thought would be back who wouldn't, and they got, like you said, they got flat-footed, right?
Right, and this is even more so because their numbers are going to be changed, and they're not used to having their numbers changed. They're used to having districts that are safe. So their organization isn't in place. That goes out and talks and advocates for you. It's really a. So it'll be effective both ways. I think actually the sense of the country will make a huge difference as opposed to these gerrymandering exercises that are going on across the country. They will move and change the dynamics somewhat, but I think more so the overall picture of affordability, the gas prices, the grocery store stuff, all of that, and the corruption piece. Those pieces I think will be huge in this election.
I agree. Yeah, I think the ballroom isn't the biggest corruption piece, but it's symbolic.
Yeah, it's a part of the puzzle of it.
Yeah, that's definitely good for the storytelling narrative. You also had the Virginia redistricting being thrown out by the Virginia Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on again, that might end up, the Democrats still might do quite well in Virginia. It might just be a 1-seat difference, right?
The people are saying between 1 and 4. So I don't know. It depends upon the campaigns that are run again. And it was a shocker that we were going to pick up 4 seats if the people voted for it. And you got to remember that in California and in Virginia, the people voted for the plans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
these other states, the Republicans just shoved it through.
They just shoved it through the legislature. That's what they did in Florida. That's what the DeSantis just did last week and the week before. So, yeah, we'll see.
So you've managed a presidential campaign before. What would you advise if you were advising a leading contender here? Would part of your platform be to pack the Supreme Court with 3 more judges, you'd have to do an odd number. Pack it with 4 more judges would probably be the trend.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a very popular thing on the left right now.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't do that. It didn't work for Roosevelt. Of course, that was 100 years ago, but it didn't work for FDR. And I just don't. Court packing is it's not ever has had much success. I mean, if you really want to think about a strategy that may have some validity and argument, you might want to think about the idea that actually I proposed when I was in the leadership, and I couldn't get very much support for it back then. But we haven't had the number of members who serve in the Congress increased in over 120 years.
Yes.
It's the same number. So when I started out, I think when my first race was in 76, we had 470,000. Now the districts are, approaching 800,000. And so you're representing more people. But I'm not sure that that's healthy. I mean, look at the Great Britain. They've got 50 million people there.
Yeah.
And their House of Commons, which is comparable to our House of Representatives, is has about a third more members of it than we do, and we have 360 or 80 million people in this country. So we have a much larger country than they do, but they have more people representing them in their House of Commons.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think if we were really restructuring, I would go for 250,000 per district, because you'd really feel like you can talk to your congressperson, and
right.
Which would be tripling the size. Though you're going to that might be too big for a Congress. You'd have over 1,000 members.
Yeah, well, you could, but you ought to go in that direction.
Yeah.
By standing still, you're diluting the democratic effect.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So you would say no to Supreme Court packing. Now you got me down to thinking, how about 11? Just two more, so we could at least win a few cases.
Yeah, it's pretty discouraging what's happened on the courts.
One more Supreme Court question.
Yeah.
The Dems win the Senate back. 50. They get 51, because we know Fetterman's not really a Democrat these days.
Well, he is a Democrat. He votes with the Democrats.
Does he? Okay. On foreign policy stuff, he's going his own way with Trump.
Yeah.
But would you hold up all, if some of these Supreme Court justices retire or pass, would you hold up all nominees until the next presidential election?
No, I would not. Why not do that? I wouldn't do what they did to.
You wouldn't do the Mitch McConnell?
No, I wouldn't do that. No.
Okay. You're such an honorable guy, David, because but on both of those questions, I think I'm tempted to do the less ethical, more combative.
Well, I can imagine that people feel, well, they did it, why can't we do it? And I think it's that's how you unravel everything. So be careful about all of those avenues.
You're saying an eye for an eye is not the way to go in life?
I think a smack in a jaw is not the way to go. You get hit, go back. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it Tyson who said, you're in a fight and the other guy thinks he's really doing well and everything, and he's talked it up before the race, but he gets in the ring and he doesn't realize what's really going on until you smack him in the face.
Everyone talks tough until you take a shot in the jaw, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's stay on this presidential theme, because we're starting to really, even though the midterms are coming, you're starting to get the jockeying for the 2028 race. And I know we don't love betting markets on this show, but I am going to show the betting market here, and I'm going to scroll up here, and in poly market, I think you and I would like to ban poly market, because you're getting a lot of corrupt gambling on foreign policy, where the White House is leaking to their dealers and making
it's basically insider trading going legal. This whole gambling thing is just totally out of control, I think. But I guess I'm becoming a prude to some extent in my older age. But But anyway, here we got it. So
Here we got it.
I'll talk about it.
They do an okay job of setting, odds. Which is kind of
that's what they do for a living. So yeah, sure.
We're going to bring on a guest on this topic of these markets because I think there's a lot of political implications to them for us. And so, but today we're just going to handicap it. I want to go over the top 10 list here. I'll scroll down so people can see. You got Newsom, Harris, Ocasio-Cortez, John Ossoff, a riser, Buttigieg, Shapiro, Beshear, Mark Kelly, Rahm Emanuel, Jon Stewart, Tallarico, and I'm going to may force you to talk about Pritzker because I think he's too low there. I might bet some money on JB.
Yeah.
So let's start with the contender here, 25% for Gavin Newsom.
Not surprised because he comes from a big state. Everybody knows who he is. And he did, have not historically been a big fan of his, but I will say that I was very impressed what he did on the reapportionment question in California. So, and I think a lot of people were. I think that number reflects that support that he has as a result of his activity there. He's probably where he should be in the race right now.
I hear a lot of Democrats saying, "Oh, he's from California. We don't need another Californian." Yeah. I think he's hit this point. There's a point where you hit like celebrity stardom.
Yeah.
You're almost bigger than you become just a personality out there in the media sphere. And Trump hit that. Like Trump's a New York guy from Queens, right?
Right.
And if you're from New York, you kind of, that's how you think of him. But he hit that sort of mega stardom piece with The Apprentice and things. And he just became a national celebrity. And I tend to think Newsom has almost done that with his own ability to draw cameras and attention, at least on social media.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So I kind of think this is an accurate.
And you've been saying that ever since he started this thing. So you were onto this early, and I'm
on the social media webs a little more than you. So
you are. Doesn't take much, but you are.
The key to social media attention is you have to be a troll. And so he's mastered the art of trolling, which is it's kind of funny that's how but that's what Donald Trump did to get elected, is he became the king of all trolls. Next one on this list is Kamala Harris, and this kind of surprised me. And I know she's polling pretty even higher than this in the sample polls. But
I think she's too high. That's too high for her. And people are saying now she should have run for governor rather than to do this. She's looking at it seriously. I'm not sure she'll run. She didn't have a lot of time. I didn't think she was too bad of a candidate. I just didn't think that it worked. It came together. So I think the person below her there, though.
Yeah.
That's a surprise.
This is the rise. Ocasio-Cortez is the riser these days. And she's taking media. Both Newsom and her, I think, are going to the same media consultants. Because if you go on social media, she is positioning herself as a celebrity political thinker, right?
Yeah.
And then she's answering every question almost just very strategically. One way she answered a question recently, they said, "Do you want to be a senator? Or do you want to be president? What's your next step?" And she goes, "I don't care. I think bigger than that. I want to, if you would get universal health care, if I can get that done, that's much more important. Presidents come and go, senators come and go. That policy would stay forever. So that's what I'm interested in." I thought that was a really
good answer.
Good answer, right?
Yeah, very excellent answer.
Yeah.
No, and she has a lot of appeal.
Clearly Bernie's family too, right? So she gets Bernie's army.
Exactly. And she traveled with Bernie early on, right after after we lost the presidency. I don't know if you recall, she did a tour around the country with him, and they were quite a duo. They drew huge crowds.
Huge crowds, yeah.
And it wasn't just all Bernie; it was curiosity with her. So I think she's probably, she's high. So in this list, even though the number isn't high, but it's higher than everybody else except two other people. So.
And the under 40 vote. Now, another huge riser is Ossoff, right?
Yeah.
And again, I don't know how much you're watching social media, but his clips from his speeches during this campaign have almost Obama-like kind of.
Yeah.
People are drawing.
He's a smart guy, and a good loyal team player, and decent values. I've been very impressive. I've never met him. I've never seen him. But I'm following him, and I get solicitations from him all the time because he's in a very tough race, right? Expensive race. But so I'm impressed with him. But maybe a little early for the presidency for him. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny how practice makes you improve, right? And he's had to really hustle to run for office, and
right.
And he's always giving speeches. I've seen this with other candidates. Like Obama was not that good at first on the stump in Iowa, and then he slowly got better in that race. Obviously, you remember that race, I'm sure.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And Edwards, who you were managing at the time.
Edwards' campaign, yeah. And Obama beat us. He had 38%, and we had 30%. And then I think Hillary.
Had 33,
Hillary had 29%. But anyway, he gave some of the best speeches that I've ever heard, political speeches that had depth and feeling, and they just weren't a screed. They were thoughtful and inspirational that I ever heard during that campaign. So I'm talking about Obama now.
Yeah.
So he had a special gift.
Yeah, he got into a groove there that he wasn't in at first, and Ossoff seems kind of in that groove. Similarly, Buttigieg has built a following for just being wicked smart and being able to go into hostile territory like Fox.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
And do well.
He's a Michigander now, so he's got a future still, I think.
And being a gay man, I think an election or two ago, I would have said it would have been impossible for a gay man to get elected president. I think he's also done a little bit of the celebrity thing that Newsom and Ocasio have. He's so ever present on the news. People who might have a little homophobia in them are they still like him.
yeah, and he's he's a thoughtful guy. He's a little more too centrist for me, but still I appreciate who he is and what he does, and so he'll be around for a while. But this is not his time. He's not running. At least he says he isn't running. So we'll see what happens. Josh Shapiro. What's your thoughts on Josh Shapiro?
It's funny, you have the three moderates there in the middle, right? If you this kind of centrist wing of the party, which I don't think is that large anymore, right? So you have Buttigieg, Shapiro, and Bashir, and I think they're fighting for 25% of the pie that is the centrist wing of the Democratic Party, where the 50% is populist, lefty, and 25% is a little bit hard to pin down. So I think they're fighting for a sliver of the electorate there, those guys. And you could put Rahm Emanuel and Mark Kelly into that mix as well. I find the Shapiro was so pro-Israel, and this is where the Gaza split, I think, hurts him. But will AIPAC, it's a double-edged sword. AIPAC could give him a lot of money and make them their candidate, right? But then that could blow back on him pretty heavily.
I would blow back heavily, definitely, on him, and he'd be wise to stay away from it.
Yeah. So maybe they'll do like they did in Illinois. They'll in APAC created fake PACs called Women for Laura,
Right, that's what they're doing. Yeah.
Men for Jen and Josh Shapiro.
I'd say the other guy that is since you mentioned APAC, I think the governor of Illinois is really a potential here, or serious potential. I would put him up there with Newsom right now. And although he's very low in your polling here, or this betting poll, or whatever it is that was put together, I think he's. I've been very impressed with him. So we'll see where he goes. But
when you can self-finance, this, if I was just a purely betting human on this, the two there, the best bets in my mind are Pritzker and O'Connor, because
O'Connor.
Pritzker won because he's been a really good governor.
Yeah.
And it's pretty savvy politically, and he's got $1 billion in the bank already to spend. So how could that be a 2%? I don't know. That's ridiculous. And I actually think they're afraid. The Republicans are already, Trump's are already attacking Pritzker. I think they're kind of afraid of him.
Yeah.
He is a billionaire. That doesn't help in this moment, but people get over that.
Yeah. We've elected a lot of wealthy people to the presidency in this country. Think about it. Over the last my lifetime, at least half of them have been extremely wealthy.
And then Ro Khanna is interesting in the sense of he is the best at getting earned media, in my mind, because he's the number one Dem on Epstein files.
He draws from the same, from the Bernie pot.
Yeah, from the Bernie.
He's part of our revolution, and he's crafty, smart guy, and he looks like sounds like he's running for president, and he hasn't denied it. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, he's intriguing. Speaking of, well, first I'm going to give you my prediction on this in a second, but you have anyone else, Michelle Obama, Jon Stewart, I actually think would be tough to beat, but I think he's too sensible.
Nah, he would be tough to beat. So
Michelle Obama, I think, has never expressed interest in running.
No.
Whitmer,
I don't think is running. Her term is up. So she'll be free to.
Someone who might run, David, for president in order to become vice president.
Yeah. Exactly. Or not run for president to become vice president.
Yeah, one of those two. But it kind of
she would fit into that category. Yeah.
One other I'd give a little outside. Well, Cory Booker, boy, his star has really fallen of late since his filibuster speech. He kind of had a moment there. Mark Cuban, if they went the businessman route, I think is a little low there too. I think Cuban has hit that celebrity status.
Yeah. I don't know. I would not consider him a serious candidate for president.
I have my prediction here, early prediction. We'll write it down on May, 2 years before we'll know. What's your prediction?
Of this group?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, I think Pritzker or Newsom, actually. Yeah. We're not going to go. I hope we're not going to go out on a flyer here. This is, we are in a really crunch time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go with someone that's solid and can get elected.
Yeah.
Now, there have been instances where people who started this process, most people didn't know or didn't think could get elected and got elected president. And Obama was obviously one of them. But we just cannot afford a loss here. We got to have a winner. And I'm going for a winner, even though that person might not be in my liking or my wheelhouse ideologically. I want a winner, because the damage when you don't have a winner is immense, and we're seeing it right now.
Yes.
It's at the doorstep of eroding and destroying our democracy. Where it's eroding our democracy clearly, and it may destroy it.
I agree with you. My prediction, I think clearly, I think Ocasio-Cortez and Newsom are the best positioned and have a chunk of the electorate already, and money and support. And then I think there's room for a third. So it's going to come down to a 3-horse race, right? And I think Pritzker's probably the best position to be the third. So I think it'll come down to those 3 candidates duking it out. Would be my guess.
I like her. She's gutsy, she's smart, and she annoys people too. I understand that, but I'm not willing to go with someone that's chancy in the general election.
My favorite thing about AOC is her ability to reframe old political debates into new progressive conversations, right? What is the society that we're really trying to strive for? And she does.
I admire her for that too. I think that's a wonderful thing. And the mayor of the city of New York has that same skill.
Yeah,
and he's done the same thing. He gets to the big questions of who we want to be as a country in this. He's very good at it.
And the happy warrior, being very tough, but the happy warrior personality is very appealing, right?
Yeah,
that's good. Hey, before we jump off, Ukraine is always an issue that is near and dear to our hearts. We saw that Vladimir Putin had to ask. I have something on my shirt too.
I know, I saw it. That's why I put mine up.
But Putin had to ask Trump's help to not be attacked for his parade, which I read online is like a sign that is the clearest sign of how weak Putin is these days in this war.
It is a good sign. In fact, there's Garanchek and Gary Kasparov, the world chess player. I read him. My friend Peter sends me, Peter too. He sends us this stuff and what they're saying about Ukraine and the war of aggression by Russia on it. And these guys comment on it, Garanchov and the other one I just mentioned, Kasparov, the chess player. And there's some others that I've been reading as well. O'Brien, a fellow by the name of O'Brien. Anyway, these guys they know this stuff. This is in them. And they hit it on the head pretty well. Putin, there's something going on. The insiders that follow Russian history and Russian politics today are saying there's something different that's happening now. He's getting nervous. He's getting scared. Partly that's because the Ukrainians have this resilience and have withstood him, and now are developing the weapons to threaten him. And that gets to this whole parade question that we're talking about, and people are talking about it in the media. He's in hiding a lot of the time, Putin, in his bunkers.
Yeah.
And he didn't come out too often because he knows that he's a target.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he shut down the media, and that's starting to, and he's got all these deaths in his country. An incredible number of people have died in Russia as a result in fighting this war. And that's starting to have a huge effect. And plus, the economic situation is not good for them. Yeah. Even you would think it would be good because oil is what they're running this thing on, and the price of it's going up. But he's got other difficulties with regard to this because the Ukrainians, and you don't read about that very much in the U.S. newspapers, but the Ukrainians are hitting strategically all these energy developing pieces in Russia, the refineries and the docks where it's shipped and all of that. They're taking a big hit. So anyway, go ahead.
Hopefully this will be the year we finally get.
It would be nice. Yeah. But that Putin's is just being like he has always been. He said they cut this deal. Trump supported it. Went to Zelensky and said, "Hey, 3-day ceasefire, okay? In exchange, you'll get 1,000 of your Ukrainian prisoners back, okay, from Putin, and Putin will do this. You'll give him some." And so that's what they agreed to. Now Putin and his people are saying, that's not the case. But that was the deal. That's what's been out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Ukrainian soldiers are treated a hell of a lot differently in captivity than Russian soldiers are in Ukraine. They're tortured. It's just horrific.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully, as you point out, this will lead to something, but we'll see.
Well, that's ending on a slightly optimistic note, and hopefully this Iran war will come to a close as well. We meant to talk about the war powers resolution with you, with that Trump has ignored, but we'll do that on a later show. Hopefully this will the death and destruction in the Middle East will start to slow and end.
Yeah,
that's a big hope.
Yeah.
But we'll have to bring our Palestinian flags next time, David.
Well, yeah.
They deserve it. They deserve a T-shirt here as well.
Yes.
All right. Have a great Mother's Day. Take care.
You too.
Yeah.
And all the best to Beta and everybody and her mother. Why, I like.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.